Welcome to Hello Chaos, the weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic minds and lives of founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That's Orange Whip, WIP for Work in Progress. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities through hyperlocal media platforms that are designed to inform, inspire, and create connections to help founders along their journey. We tell real, raw, unbiased founder stories and why our mantra is where aha meets oh shit. Orange Whip is an all-in-one content hub for founders with fresh and engaging stories, curated calendars, and local resources. We've done all the hard work for founders, so they only need to go to one trusted place to find the local information they need. My name is Jennifer Sutton. My friends and family call me JJ. I am the founder of Orange Whip and your podcast host today. We record live every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and then publish on all podcast platforms on the following Sunday. This episode is sponsored by Worksby. Worksby is the gold standard in virtual administrative solutions. Their energetic leadership team is committed to solutions that are agile, collaborative, and accessible so you can find the strategic answers you've been seeking. They are narrow and deep in the administrative professional space and help craft the next generation of servant leaders and support executives. They help founders do what they love and take the tasks off their plate that they hate. Learn more at Worksby, WORXBEE.com. On our podcast today, we welcome Ryland and JP Rainsford. They're the founder of Scouts Doughnuts. Welcome, guys.
Hi, thank you.
y'all.
It is great to see you, and especially in your space.
Thank you.
Thank you.
In the working kitchen.
Yes,
Right? So why don't you guys give us just like the overview of your entrepreneurial journey?
Oh, yes.
Ooh. I think that probably starts for us back in college. We lived in Atlanta for a couple of years while I was finishing up college. JP was a young elementary education teacher. We had the opportunity to help some friends of ours start a brewery in Atlanta. And it wasn't like we were inside on all the ideation and everything. And they just it came to opening night and they needed extra hands. And they're like, we can't pay you, but you can keep tips. And we were like, okay. And so we ended up doing that for about a year. But from opening night all the way through that first year of their business, which is now a phenomenally growing, huge presence in Atlanta. It's Monday Night Brewing. And
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah. And so we get to not only work the taps, but also work pretty closely with the founders and the owners in the back, doing different things and I was special projects. JP was events planner, all the random stuff that has to happen.
Yeah.
But we just had so much fun.
Yeah.
And then during that time, I took a job with Michelin as a tire designer. I studied mechanical engineering at Georgia Tech, and that's what brought us here to Greenville. But then as soon as we moved here, JP got a job teaching second grade.
Yeah, I started teaching at Veritas Preparatory School, which at the time had not opened yet. So I was one of 5 teachers that came in, and there was no curriculum built yet. There was nothing there.
So it was a startup.
It was
itself, yeah.
And so we went from this cute little brewery startup to now we're in the education startup, if you will. And it was so inspiring. And I worked there for 5 years and put my whole heart and soul into it until we had our firstborn. But those 5 years were just growing, learning, working together as a team, figuring out what works, what doesn't work. Just so much hoping, so much dreaming, so much collaboration. And I loved every minute of it.
And we came to realize that we're really filled up and energized by by building stuff.
Right.
So we're not big into leisure. We prioritize rest for our family, but leisure, I don't know. We've never been big sports fans because I don't know. It feels like a waste of time to me. But it's definitely that's to each own. That's not a right and wrong answer.
We don't hold season passes anymore.
Yeah.
So but that's we realized we love building stuff. And so that's where someone's at the door. So we kind of realized that we wanted to build something of our own. So we started doing photography, and just on the side, we'd done some in high school and college, and then just decided like, hey, let's see what goes.
Right.
What happens. We were kind of bored, had some extra time. We were new to town, so we were like, let's just try it.
Yeah.
So we gave it a whirl. That turned into a very successful wedding photography business that we did. Actually, this is our last year. We're phasing out photography this year.
Okay.
But it was through that process that we realized we not only love building stuff, we love building stuff with other people.
Right. So how did donuts get into?
Yeah. So we came to clarity that like, okay, I think we want to run our own business one day. Like I didn't really aspire to have a long corporate career.
Right.
But so given the opportunity to run our own business, there's like a million different options. So we were trying to figure out, what are we going to do?
Right.
Photography? Is it going to be something else? And another older entrepreneur friend of ours really challenged us to stop asking ourselves, like, what are we going to do? That question.
Right.
Start asking ourselves, who do we want to be as people throughout the course of our lives, not just, over the next 5 or 10 years, but over the course of our whole lives. And let that vision for like character development drive our priorities and our values, clarify our priorities and our values, so that we could then, that could then lend clarity to what type of vocation we could move into that would kind of align with those personal values.
Right.
We wanted our vocation, our personal lives, kind of all be contributing to each other and moving in the same direction.
That is so smart.
So that was back in like 2016 when we started thinking along those lines, and really we wrote our first family mission statement in the next year, and then we've revised it year over year since then. But really, like, that was when we identified what are some of the core values, some of our core values and priorities.
Right. What are they? Well, are they still true today that
They are. They're because they're like character development. They're things like we want to prioritize
community.
Well, ultimately, okay. So what it kind of ultimately boiled down to, as we've come to more and more clarity over this, is that like really what we want to prioritize is cultivating growth in people's lives. So that's not only in our own lives, but in the life of people around us and in the life of the community in which we live and operate. And so that then led to, okay, so what are the important elements of growth? We believe the most lasting and meaningful growth that we experience is in relationships with other people. So community is very important to us. Making commitments, we grow through doing hard things,
right?
Through being challenged. And so like making not shying away from hard commitments,
okay, and
then following through on those commitments. That was another like big value for us. It became like a personal value for us became like the physical place in which the Lord has placed us. So that gave us some clarity in photography that like we didn't want to do online stuff. Like we wanted to do something that was like very present,
right,
and local. We wanted to prioritize education because that's a great way that we grow, not only for ourselves, but also providing education for others. That was close to JP's heart, being a teacher. We wanted to prioritize growth for our whole family. So we hope to, in terms of a vocation, that meant we hope that we'd find something that our whole family could participate in.
Right.
Not just be something that JP and I do on our own. And I'm trying to think of what else.
I think that's it.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you were going to remember education.
Yeah. And then there were some more like kind of specifics that manifested underneath of those, but those were a lot of the highlights for us.
Yeah.
So that really gave us clarity that like, okay, we know that like long corporate career is not really something, because again, another value is like we want to build things.
Right.
We
want to own something.
We want to foster ownership. Like that's another way we grow, is like by cultivating ownership in other people. And by giving ownership away. That's like been really a big thing for us.
Yeah.
Then it also gave us clarity that like photography wasn't the long-term answer either. Because although it was very like highly experiential and relational, it was very kind of transient.
Right.
Wonderful experience with these amazing people and all their amazing people, and then 95% of the time we'd never see them again. And it was also, we'd go wherever our clients were, so it wasn't very local. It wasn't as local as we desired it to be. It also, for us to do more photography and for that to be full time for us, that would mean that we had to be gone from our children more evenings and weekends, which is becoming less and less compatible with our family culture, family routine and rhythm as our kids are playing and want to do sports and school and all the things. So it gave us clarity that photography wasn't it either. So we actually were in a period. It was kind of,
it was a long
it was
time.
in like 2020 is when we really kind of realized, okay, like, yeah, we definitely, we knew Michelin wasn't the answer. And we also were like, yeah, photography definitely isn't the answer either.
And working for a school system.
Well, so JP had already stepped away.
I had already come home.
Okay.
Our son was born in 2018. And so, truth be told, like every year when the email would go out of like, we're looking for new teachers, I kept telling Ryland, like, I probably should just go back. Like, I loved it there so much. Like, why am I not just going back and pouring into something I still love? And so that was on the table. I mean, we definitely didn't say no. We said, well, we'll keep our hands open. So.
Yeah. Did you guys look at, like, as part of that process, okay, we can either own something and build some, or do we go and buy a franchise?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we didn't really think so much about like franchises because, as you know, like for us doing something with our own hands,
right,
it's a really important thing. I am an Enneagram 6.
Okay.
I do not follow rules very well. Like
it's like the Enneagram is like a personality. It's
That's
not
right.
a personality test, but it's helpful for it's helpful for self-awareness.
It's your language, right? It's how you manifest.
Really.
Great.
Too. Yeah, sure.
When I read part of like the description on the 6, it said something along the lines of like has a hard time staying under authority. And just kind of like always not challenging, but always being like,
you can't have a boss.
I just
JP, that's what that is.
I just wonder. And so, yeah, for us, it was like, could we really work for corporate and like something bigger than ourselves? Because I just would always wonder.
Yeah,
I would just always wonder.
Sure.
Ryland, what was your Enneagram?
I'm a 9.
You're a 9.
And that's like the person where it's like you kind of vibe with everybody,
yeah.
but you don't really know what you think for yourself. So I found that like I actually really thrive in kind of being.
Are you a Pisces?
I don't know. It's a good question. I should look it up. Maybe. So I kind of thrive on like being in the middle, but something and like bringing people together and bringing together for diverse perspectives. But I have a hard time like being convicted of like what I think is right or what I think is outside of like some core beliefs that we have. Like, and I see a lot of the world as gray. Let me put it that way.
Yeah.
Whereas JP sees a lot of the world as black and white.
We're great
at. You create the structure he needs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. It's been a very good.
She does. Good match. No, and like her intuition, as like more and more over the years, kind of realize like her intuition is almost always right. Whereas I have like very little intuition about things. I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. So, but I'm getting better.
Yes, you are. We're both growing.
So kind of like going back to our to that kind of the narrative. So we came to realize that we were like the two paths we were on vocationally were both dead ends.
Right.
Like 2020, the early 2020, and so then it was it wasn't until like almost a year and a half later. It was like middle of 2021. I like to run, and some of my running buddies moved here from out of town, and part of their like routine in the towns where they moved from was to like stop and pick up donuts from like the local mom and pop donut shop on their way home for their kids. And they just like always complain about how there wasn't something like that here in Greenville.
That is true.
And I don't know, they complain about it all the time. And for some reason, the like 12th time that came up, it's like that one day I couldn't stop thinking about it. I thought about it all day. And we already had like this pretty clear list of criteria. Like we wanted something local. We wanted something that would allow us to have a team. We wanted something. We love the idea of having a product rather than a service. We've been in the service industry for a while. We love hosting and the role that food plays in community, but like a restaurant had always been out of the question because of the lifestyle and hours and whatnot. and it wasn't really, it was food, but it wasn't a restaurant. It just seemed to kind of like, yeah, I think it's actually
It was
fit.
fun.
Right.
I
It
was like, I don't want to
fun.
do something
Yeah.
boring.
That's
A
right.
product that's just like repetitive.
Right.
Yeah.
But like I said, we'd had during that like year and a half, we'd been thinking about lots of different ideas, and we had a lot of other ideas that we thought were good ideas that we kind of got like a couple weeks or a couple months into and realized were just like really bad ideas. So like I tried not to get too excited about it. But then I told JP about it. I kind of like pitched it to her in like 3 or 4 sentences that night as we were going to bed, and I went to sleep.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
I did not get it that night. So Ryland, like he said, like just very, hey, I was running with the boys this morning. They were really lamenting there's no good donuts here. So I was thinking about it and our mission statement, and it just really seems to fit a lot of the boxes, all the things that Ryland just said. So maybe this is something I'll start kind of thinking over and doing some market research about. And, we like donuts. So what do you think about that? And I was like, that sounds amazing. Okay. I'm ready to go to sleep. And I was like, okay, good night. And he went, the next morning when he got up, he was like, I feel great. And I like held up this thing and I was like, so here's what it's going to look like. Here's the colors. Here are like, I'm thinking like bold and bright and beautiful and playful and whimsical and like very different, very nostalgic, but with a twist, and just kept going, and like was exhausted for days because I couldn't stop
Thinking about it
all in my head. And so it just kind of like went quickly.
Yeah. But like I said, we'd had ideas that we thought were good ideas in the past, and so we basically took the whole year from 2021 into 2022 to try to convince ourselves why this was a bad idea.
Yeah, we kept it very close to our hearts. Like, really didn't share it with many people.
Well, not necessarily.
No, we didn't.
Not at
it was our like core people that we shared it with.
Right.
And even then, it was like, please tell us not to do this.
Right.
Please tell us we're stupid.
Like, why should we? Why should we? Or why should we? Yeah.
And here's like, do you want to try one? Like, we tried it. Okay, you think it's good? Please don't tell us it's good.
So you even went into the kitchen and started like, baking.
We were testing recipes. We were testing toppings. And the first iteration, like, wasn't bad. It just wasn't what we're doing now.
Right.
And so then it was like, oh, this is kind of fun. Like, we enjoy doing this together. Oh, we enjoy talking about this. Oh, like, let's do some more research about this. And what have you thought about toppings? Oh, I've been dreaming about this. And so we would give these to like our community group or to our neighbors or our families when they would visit. And every single time they were like, so what's the next flavor you're thinking about? So what are you going to try next? And gently, like the door just kept going. Like
they were pushing
more.
Yeah.
And that's what we were praying for. We were praying for an open door or a closed door.
Yeah.
Did you, when you woke up that next morning and already kind of fleshed out, did you have the name in mind? Like that night you were like, it's Scouts.
No, that's a great question. So, it was probably a few months after that, after testing some recipes, and we had a lot of the like color, and I'm a very visual person. So I was like thinking about all of what it would look like and feel like. And I kept telling Ryland, but I just don't know what name. That morning he had gone on a run and he was like, I've been really thinking about calling it Scouts, which ironically is the name of our dog, Scouts. And I was like, ugh, it's like kind of overused, don't you think? Like when I think of Scout, I think of our dog. And he was like, well, we didn't name, we named Scout, our dog, after Scout Finch from To Kill a Mockingbird.
Okay.
We love To Kill a Mockingbird.
Mm-hmm.
We love Scout Finch as a character. We love her character development and who she is at the beginning and then who she is at the end, with just family and core values and the childlike faith that she has that each person is good, and that as she looks at someone, she sees them and she doesn't see their past. She's adventurous. She's bold. All of those things we love about her. And we love just like the lessons and the corporate lessons that book brings too. So as we were talking about Scouts, we were kind of writing out, like, we want our store to feel bold. We want it to feel childlike. We want people to come in and feel safe. We want a place that a young person would feel excited and an older person would feel excited. But we want something different. Scout Finch is really different. Like,
yeah, because a lot of people, when they listen, they lean towards Atticus as a personality and a character.
Yeah, they really. So, she's kind of like she breaks a lot of the stereotypes. Like, she wear the dresses. She talks pretty loud. She
gets in fights.
Yeah, she's like, in school is not on the good list.
Right.
Like,
she's ornery. Yeah.
She is, but she is.
But she's like, but brave. She has an integrity. She's brave. Yeah,
that's right.
She sees people for who they are, and she doesn't just adhere to status quo, but really, like I said, sees people for who they are, and that was really appealing. It's always been very compelling to us, her character.
So Ryland pitched the name Scouts, and then he said, and not donuts, DONUTS, but donuts spelled the right way,
the classic way.
Short about everything we're doing here,
and I was
needs to be grammatically correct.
That's right. It. That's so great, and I love it. And so that's how Scouts came. Yeah. The name came to be. Yeah.
So, what's been the most rewarding part of your journey? So let's tell everybody now. So you kind of worked out of your home, and you were just doing wholesale, right? I mean, you were giving donuts to these coffee shops across the city.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, we had kind of just been like doing the next thing internally, and like eventually the next thing, was to try to like sell some donuts. So we gave some to Bridge City for them to just try and be like, do you think you can sell these? And they like bananas. And so we took them more like a couple weeks later, and they sold out pretty quickly. Well, nobody knew what they were.
Right.
It was the first time they did. Everybody
they're good looking donuts.
And they did not have a name on them. We didn't want a name on them because we were doing market research for the donut, not for the branding.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
They were unmarked. They looked like Bridge was selling them, honestly.
Yeah.
Right.
But they sold pretty well. They sold in like, I don't know, like an hour and a half or something. We only took like 24. I don't know.
Right.
And then we actually had to take a month off because we had weddings.
Had to keep that photography business.
A minute to kind of like space.
Yeah.
And then we took more, and that second time we took more. I think they sold in like an hour, and then that third time they sold in like 30 minutes, and then the fourth time it was like 20 minutes, and then the fifth time it was like 18 minutes or something. It
was like like there was a standing room when we walked in to deliver. Like the whole room would just stand up and start.
Like we've been waiting for these.
And Greg had to like start limiting one per family. And it was like, okay, so clearly we need like a larger operation, but we both have jobs.
Yeah.
And we can, and our dough takes 3 days to make. Oh, and we're working out of our house. Oh, and we don't have any employees, and we don't know what we're doing.
And we have like our personal fridge.
Yeah.
So we thought we could maybe do this just like on the side out of our house for, I don't know, like 12 to 18 months.
Right.
Like, gather some data, start to get some exposure.
Deliver to a few copy shops, see what it does. Yeah.
Right. And we got like 6 weeks in, and it became like pretty apparent that like we either have to go all in on this or we just have to like cut it off.
We can't do it.
Right, because somebody else would come into play.
Right.
That's
exactly right.
We didn't have capacity for any other shops. Chestnut Coffee was also, they also came on like right away.
Yeah.
And started going bonkers there too. So like we almost immediately were like maxed out.
Yes.
And couldn't take on any more business.
Correct.
So we were like, got it. Yeah.
Right.
We either need to stop entirely or we have to like actually double down on this.
Right.
And we basically came to realize that like we don't know how this is going to work exactly, but I think we had enough clarity that like this fit the bill for us personally as a family, and that there was like a very legitimate opportunity in the market.
There was a market demand.
For sure. Not just from like, those data points of like how well they sold those weeks, but also from like lots of research that we did and benchmarking we did with other donut shops in other cities and things like that. So we felt, even though we didn't know exactly how it was going to work, we felt very confident that it was going to work.
Mhm.
And so it was definitely a little terrifying. When, like, we'd only started we sold our first donuts in March, and then we took a month, and then we took a month off until April. And then in May, we decided I needed to quit my job.
Yes.
Wow.
And so
all in that time as well, we found out we were pregnant with our third baby. So not only
It's chaos.
it was chaos.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
It was hello chaos.
It's
And it was also wonderful.
Yeah.
It was like the scariest, most exhilarating jump ever, because we knew on paper this might not make sense, but we know the Lord has us.
Mhm.
And if this door was not supposed to be open, it would be closed.
Yeah.
Right.
So we can continue walking and we can have faith. And if Ryland leaves his job and it goes south, you can always find a job. Like, we can go back to work. I can go back to teaching. Like, it really will be okay. Yeah. Even if there are some hard months and stretches in there, I can go back to teaching.
There's a backup plan.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was the end of July 28th, 2022 was our 10-year wedding anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
And the last day that Round worked at Michelin. And so I threw him, of course, a giant party, and I blew it out of the water and surprised him.
It was insane.
And catered the whole thing and had like over 100 people in our yard when he showed up after work at home.
It was insane.
And it was awesome. And we just I feel like that was the time that I look back on of like people prayed over us. They rejoiced with us.
Mm-hmm.
They said, we're here for you. And that moment of looking at all those people in our lawn showing up for us on the end of a hot summer day, like that's what's carried us through. And those are still the people that are with us, cheering us on today.
Yeah. Well, sounds like that was the official launch of Scouts Doughnuts.
It was kind of
was.
It was
yeah.
It was a huge
It was
milestone
a huge community
for us,
event.
for sure.
Yeah.
I think you asked what the most rewarding part is.
Yeah.
Like all of that has been incredible. Like how fast it's grown. You have so many problems, but like how well it's gone, quote unquote. It's so chaotic, like you said. But honestly, the most rewarding part has been like the people that the Lord has raised up that we get to work with. It's been unreal.
And now you have, I mean, it's a year later, and now you guys are in your first new retail space. You guys went from selling into coffee shops.
Correct.
And now you have your own.
Correct. So similarly to that trajectory of like, we'll take these to Bridge City, and then the demand just heightens and heightens and heightens.
Mm-hmm.
The demand in Greenville for wholesale just exploded. And so before we knew it, we were at 11 coffee shops on Saturdays, and then an average of like 4, 5, 6 coffee shops on weekdays. And truth be told, like we still had more demand. And Greenville, thankfully, like kind of forced our hand into opening a retail space, even though we weren't ready to open a retail space. So at first, we popped up a table in the front of our kitchen and kind of just put it as a divider and put our donuts out, and people started coming in and purchasing them that way. Mm-hmm. And then we had a full counter built that was like actually nice and stable and all of that. So that's what we're recording on here. But coming in the new year, we are expanding into this space next door to us. And Harry's Hoagies is at the end of the block, and they are coming in to the space, and we are coming in. And so we'll share a wall. We're going to split that space in half.
Okay.
So this will remain the production space. And then next door will be full seating, full coffee service, some little like quiet spaces to work, but then mostly like large gathering tables for families to come and enjoy donuts and milk and coffee together.
Right.
And we're really, really excited about it.
What a great story.
Yeah.
So what's been the most challenging? You said that earlier offline, you said that you got to submit your plans to the city.
Yeah.
So they have to see inside of the
It's just
the building?
like the construction process.
Yeah.
So we have to basically tell the city, this is what we plan on doing. This is to prove that we've dotted all our I's and crossed all our T's from all the
Engineering.
all the details.
Yeah,
all the
like
details.
we hired real people to do this.
Right,
We're
right,
not
right.
doing it
And
ourselves.
it's going to be safe and people aren't going to die. And like,
Yeah.
Right.
So that's what's in process now. We finished the drawings and it's kind of going through the approval process.
Yeah.
So out of this process, your last few years, especially last year, what has surprised you the most?
That's a great question. I think the thing that surprised me the most has been the excitement that Greenville has brought into this space. So a lot of people, when they come in, one of the first things that we ask them is, first, have you ever been to Scouts Doughnuts? And most people say no. And then they say, but my friend has. And she raved about it. And so I wanted to come in and see it myself. And so just the support of the community has been so, I mean, you just hear like so much negativity, right? Just always negative. And it has just been such a joy to see people come in, even if they've never had a Scouts donut, and say like, no, but I know someone that has.
Right.
Like 9
It's
times.
that word of mouth.
Yes. And so that for me has been a huge joy, but then also like such a gift, because it's refreshing and wonderful, and that you get to give them something that's exciting and new. And then usually they try it in front of you and you get to see how excited they are. And that's just been really fun.
Because they're beautiful. Not only beautiful donuts, but they are delicious.
Thank you. Yeah, we love them.
We love them.
I think
go ahead.
Surprising things have just been not just how like excited our customers have been, but also how supportive all the other businesses, all the media outlets in town have been. Like, we have had an unbelievable amount of like media attention, and we didn't ask for any of it.
That's right.
Which has been
that free publicity. You cannot turn it away.
Yeah, and this is a perfect example of that. So like, thank you. That's been a huge surprise to us. Not something that we factored in or expected or planned.
That's right.
So thank you for that.
No, you're welcome. That's what, and I think one of our conversations that how you and I, how we all met was through the incubator, right? That grew at the platform.
Yeah.
And I know you guys were freaking out of like, we're getting all these solicitations, these phone calls. Do we just ignore it? We're not ready. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I was like, tip number 1, your media people are your best, treat them as your best customers, your friends and family.
That was incredible advice.
Yes.
It was exactly what we needed to hear.
Huge. Yes.
Well, yeah, a lot of folks. I'm glad that you guys took that advice, because we hear all about you, and people love it. What has been the biggest, like, oh crap, the barriers? Like, have you guys hit walls, or just like, oh no, what have we done? And then how did you pivot? Like, how did you handle that?
We're probably thinking of multiple different. Just like
I see Ryland is thinking.
Okay, what are you thinking?
I think the biggest, the first thing that came to mind for me was related to like product quality. We got into, not just once, but like I think twice, 2 or 3 times now. We've had some like pretty serious product quality issues where we had to like cancel all our deliveries, throw out all our product, start over, and it was really painful.
Yeah.
Like our fridge died or something. It's like, I mean, you can explain this so well, but for someone who doesn't know dough very well, the process takes 3 days. And essentially over those 3 days, the science of dough and all that goes into it, we didn't catch something that then like helped go into the next day. And it just kind of like that one little thing that we didn't catch kind of fed into the next day and then fed into the next day. And when we cut everything, it looked fine. But what happened when it got fried up was not how the dough should react. So
it revealed our ignorance. And that's been one of the most challenging things is
Yeah.
that like nobody until recently, no one on our team really had very little culinary background at all, and almost no one on our team had like relevant culinary background.
Right. Like going from home cooking to a commercial
Right.
kitchen.
Since
We have
then
people who
has
are like,
changed,
who enjoy, making cupcakes and cakes and stuff at home, but that's like very different than what we're doing here,
Right.
and also at a very different scale. And so like what a lot of this revealed is just like we were flying blind. We hit a cliff and we flew right off a cliff.
and
had no
we
idea.
didn't know we were flying off the cliff until we landed, which
Right.
was honestly really humbling.
Yeah.
And just shows how much science goes into cooking, how much math goes into it, how much strategic planning goes into it. And, you walk into a lot of pastry shops or kitchens or whatever, and you kind of just take for granted the beautiful plate that's put in front of you.
Yeah.
And now when Ryland and I go out, we are just like so wide-eyed. Like,
right. Are you guys looking at it going, how did they master that?
That's a much higher appreciation
Look at that presentation.
For just like the skill.
I wonder where that chef studied.
And heart that food service people bring.
Oh,
in restaurants.
Yeah,
for sure.
Biggest. Say that one more time. Oh crap! Moment.
Yeah. Those biggest, like, oh no, what have we done? Those walls.
Yeah.
That we just run into, and then like I said, how did you handle those?
Yeah, I definitely think that the dough thing was big.
The other one for me, it was just like when we decided to pull the plug on retail.
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I was thinking. So like I referred to this earlier. Brown was like, I think this is the next biggest one. And I was like, when Greenville said, so I know you have a commissary kitchen. I know that you guys are cooking and putting out into Greenville. I want your donuts from you. Like literally just people walking.
People are like, you need to have a storefront.
Walking into our kitchen. And clearly we actually are very undercover here because we have no signs.
Right.
That's right. And people still kind of, tell us when they come in, you don't have a sign. And we're like, we know. Yeah. But the windows are now painted so that when you walk up, you can see it. Anyways, when we realized we just need to pull the plug, the following day, we put up our pop-up table. We put tablecloths out, and we had a small POS system, and we had a ton of boxes. And this kitchen behind us was fully staffed with people who were just like hands up, ready to go. We don't know what to expect for the day. And we sold out like immediately.
Wow.
The lines those first few weeks were down the block, and most weekends they still are down the block. Yeah. It's harder now that school's in and stuff like that. There's carpool and pick up and drop off and all of this. But the summertime was insane. And it was everyday retail we were just selling out and selling out and selling out. And it made us have to refine our systems every day.
Yeah.
Not just, donuts looked great today. We got wholesale out on time, and now we get to prep for the next day. It is like we are gunning fast till we sell out, and then we still have to interact with customers and let them know that we've sold out. So we need to have 2 people up at the counter while everyone's still in the back prepping for the next day. And there was just a huge learning curve there, but our team did phenomenal and is still doing a phenomenal job of troubleshooting every day, planning and executing, and then going back to the drawing board and saying, what do we do right and what do we need to change?
Right.
But those first few weeks were
writing.
Because I don't know how clear this was, but like we decided like on a Wednesday, and they were like, hey, next week Wednesday we just need to like turn the lights on and unlock the door and be open. And we were like, okay, I think we can do it. And so we did. Like it was like over the course of like a weekend, we were like, all right, we're just gonna like
I guess we'll get some cups for coffee, and I guess we'll like figure out this brewing system. Like, do we need straws? I don't know, napkins, paper towels. It was just like, it was just kind of that moment of like you're inviting someone into your house, and you're just like, Oh, quick! We only 15
We don't know if
minutes.
anybody will show up, but let's just
Yes.
be welcoming.
Yeah.
Yes. Exactly.
And I guess like the whole point of this podcast, like you said, it's for other founders. And
Right.
So, to be real, like the first 6 weeks that we've been open so far have been pretty bonkers, but now it's starting to slow down a little bit.
It's
And
evening out.
Has the newness worn off?
Right. And so that's like the question we're starting to ask ourselves of like, for those first few weeks, it was like, oh my gosh, this new thing. Greenville loves things.
Right.
And then as soon as it's not a new thing anymore, people generally it's like, oh yeah, I heard about that one time. Okay.
Right.
So we are really figuring out like now how do we transition from 70% new customers to 50% returning customers,
Right.
60% returning customers, 70% returning customers. How do we make that switch?
Mhm.
And that definitely not. So it's not like we're just we've gotten to cruising altitude and now we just put it in cruise control.
It's not
and
a magical
everything's
recipe of just
That's right.
words. Yeah.
And you're right. You're going to have to like test it to go, is it just we need to do a little pop, a little,
Yes.
word of mouth kind of referral program and continue to kind of feed that community?
Exactly.
Or do you have to do something a little bit more aggressive to stay above the noise?
Exactly.
Right.
We have a great team full of great young, fresh minds, as we say, that their brain cells are all intact because they are young and don't have children. And it's so wonderful. We do have people who have children, but their reading of the market and of what people want has been really fun and great for us to learn from them as well. And so there are some really fun things I'm excited about personally that's like coming down the line that I'm like, could it please just be November? Because I'm really excited to launch this new thing. So we're always trying to keep it relevant, fresh.
Yeah. Well, that's a teaser, JP.
Yeah,
there are a lot of exciting things coming for sure.
How are you keeping your team motivated and engaged?
Man,
great
that's an awesome
question.
I guess first to like just kind of set the tone and expectation that it's like we have found amazing people, and we have prayed over and over that like, Lord, would you provide people that like we can't believe we get to work with that person. And like those are the kind of people who have come and who have like raised their hand and be like, I want to be part, I want to like help, I want to be part of this.
I believe in this.
I believe in this. And I think that's really what it's come down to is that like our real mission here at Scouts is to cultivate growth in people's lives. And that means that we prioritize growth, we prioritize personal ownership, we prioritize togetherness, and we prioritize making magic with our product and through our experience for our customers. And that is like through and through of like everything that we do, every decision we make, all the conversations we have, the tasks that we do, how we balance tasks, how we assign roles and responsibilities, like those, the conversations that we have day in, day out, the rhythms and routines we have of helping, like staying in touch with each other related to like job things. And I think that is what has cultivated a culture where so far, like everybody really does own it
and cares.
And like some
really
of the
care.
language that we use.
Such a difference maker.
Yeah. And the language that we use is like, this is our business. These are our donuts.
Yeah.
Have you tried a Scouts donut before? Have you tried our donuts before?
Right.
And bringing them into that conversation, not just telling them like, hey, this is what our values are, just so you know.
Yeah, good luck.
But
Right.
we've taken a lot of intentional time with our like all of our team and with our leadership team to talk about, to like digest that with them of like, this seems like this is a value for us. Like, what does that mean to you? And does that feel
right?
Does that feel authentic to your experience here? Or like,
Right.
what is that? What does your experience reflect related to that? And having that conversation be one that we're all having.
Right. Are you guys like having daily stand-ups, weekly, monthly? I mean, like, how regular do you have these discussions with your team?
So we'll go from top down. So with our core team, we call them captains. That's actually part of the language that's Ryland's using. We think we believe that a culture of ownership really matters. So we're all a team. So we call each other like team players. We're captains. We help call the plays, but ultimately you are the one that plays it out, and we're on the side coaching you and cheering you on.
Sometimes we're on the side, sometimes we're on the field. A lot of times we're on the field too.
Absolutely.
Like we're all
playing. But as a captain, we do get to help kind of coach along and be that voice. We have 6 captains total. So we meet weekly, and we have a sheet that we talk through. We make sure that we're all prioritizing rest, that we're asking each other how we are actually doing. And then we kind of look at the week ahead and make sure that from a production, quality, and magic standpoint, that everything is in line and that our teams are all communicating well. And then the production team meets once a week as well. They have their own standing meeting. And then the social media kind of magic experience, customer experience team meets once a week as well. So those teams meet. And then every day before we open our doors, similar to like how a kitchen has like staff dinner, staff lunch. I think a lot of high-end restaurants do that.
Like family meals.
Family meals. We will have a meeting at 6 a.m. every morning once our full staff gets in. So we have openers that come in at 4. We have prep team that comes in at 5. And then the rest of
You're talking about AM, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
It's like that old gotta go make the donuts.
Right. Oh, I know.
Believe me. We might get a shirt made of that, actually.
We need to bring that back. I think
we do. It's just so nostalgic, so good. But then everyone is here by 6 a.m. and aprons on, ready to go. And one captain will lead the meeting kind of with like the agenda for the day. These are the numbers we're putting. These are the wholesale numbers. These are retail sale numbers. These are the special orders, whether it's for a baby shower or a wedding catering event or a church event, and kind of like presents the game plan to the team.
Okay.
Tasks are assigned, and then it's good time.
I love it.
And then finally, because like growth is personal.
Yes.
Yeah.
We also have every team member has a one-on-one with either with one of the team captains.
Yes.
Okay.
And we routinely have one-on-ones with the captains.
Correct.
Okay.
So like we one of the things that was appealing to us about this business, in contrast to our photography, is our photography was like our name, it was Rainsford Photography.
Right.
And we were so excited to have something that didn't have our name on it anymore.
Yeah.
That could be like bigger than us.
That's right.
Not just be us anymore. And so in order for that to happen, that means that we'd have to like, our main job is to cultivate great leadership in other people.
Yeah.
And so we spend, functionally a lot of our time like on the field playing the game,
learning,
making the plays, all that kind of stuff,
making mistakes.
But we like another huge part of our time is spent just cultivating our people, our leaders, so that then they can turn around and pour into the rest of the team.
That's right. So,
and that's been the most rewarding part, honestly. It truly has.
Which goes into your mission statement.
You know what's amazing? Just to like emphasize this just yesterday we had like a leadership team workshop, and we mapped out our flywheel. If you're familiar with that,
Yep.
Jim Collins.
Well, you talk about, because I know what that means. I'm wondering if some founders don't know what that means.
Sure, it's kind of like we used to have an exercise bike. So a flywheel is like that big weighted disc on the front, and the whole purpose of it is that like it takes a lot of energy to get it up to momentum, but once it gets up to momentum, there's so much weight associated with it that it's hard to stop. Yep. That's the whole idea. And so within a business, it's like, what is your business cycle? And does every element of your business cycle naturally lead to the next next element of the cycle? Yep. And does that naturally lead to and contribute to the success of the next element of the cycle, and the next element of the cycle, and the next element of the cycle, until you get all the way back down to the beginning again? And so we like kind of mapped out what's our flywheel at Scouts, and then mapped out like kind of, so who's kind of the on point for each one of the elements. And I'm not on there.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes.
You're like, yes, awesome. That is the goal.
It is the goal.
Awesome.
Yeah. and I get to be on there in parentheses, which is awesome. And I think also is a credit to our captains.
For sure. 100%.
Like you can pour into someone, but they have to do it.
That's right.
And so for them to take the ownership and to ultimately trust us has been so rewarding, so wonderful, and we don't take it for granted.
Yeah. If I'm Carrie, I know we're kind of running long, but I'm so like, I love the conversation, so I want to just ask a few more questions.
Sure.
Great.
If you could hit rewind, is there anything you would do differently?
Oh, we've never been asked that before. Personally, no. I've loved what the mistakes have taught us, and I love the mistakes that other people or binds other people have gotten into because we all learned together. And that has contributed to our greatest growth. And so there's really nothing as hard as those valleys were that I would wish away. All the way down to the dough, that was a really, really low point. And I like making those phone calls, being like, I have no donuts for you today. And I was here this morning with that morning with the team and being like, I have no idea what we're going to do. We just have to go back to square one.
Right.
It was a horrible sinking feeling, but what I saw on our captains' faces and our employees that morning was that they were sad and they owned it and they got to work. And because of that, we now have a better product.
Right.
It was better. I don't know if I would change a thing.
Yeah. Similarly for me, I think yes. But there's kind of two thoughts. First, I was on a run, kind of early on in this process, and we had some like really critical decisions that we had to make, and they were very gray.
Yeah.
Like we talked about earlier. I didn't know how to make these decisions. I didn't know what decision to make. And I remember I was on a run by myself, which isn't normal, but I remember just taking that time to just pray, like, Lord, what do you want me to do?
Right.
And I felt him just tell me, like, I just want you to be faithful. There's not a wrong decision.
Right.
Just make a decision and then be faithful to that decision. Be faithful to me and to like the commitments you've made in that decision.
Right.
And so like to that extent, I feel like we don't have a lot of regrets because even though we've made a lot of mistakes, like they've been out of faithfulness. But at the same time, the one regret I do have is I have a big tendency to lose sight of my people because of all the things that have to get done. To not be present with my people because my mind is on a checklist or something that's late or something I'm slowing down or like whatever, something I'm stressed about. And so that's personally something I regret, is that I've like let my people down by not really showing up for them, but thinking that like the stuff was more important than they are.
Right.
That's something I'm like really working on right now.
I think we're all a work in progress.
Yeah, for sure. I know that like this is something I'm always going to struggle with because it's like part of my personality that I kind of get tied up around the axle with stuff. And
I'm the same way. Like I go hyper focus. It's hard to come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially as entrepreneurs, we can get really deep in our holes.
Right. Right.
It's easy.
What would you what other advice would you add or give to the next founder?
Can I take this one?
I've got some stuff too.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's the same thing. So the typical answer that Ryland usually gives is to try something and to ask people and to be in the community talking to a lot of people about it. So if you have an idea, like it's great to do your market research. It's great to put together a plan financially, logistically, all that kind of stuff. But trying something is also really creatively freeing. We are creative people, and I really feel like working with your hands or whatever that thing is that brings you a lot of joy will release a lot of that like anxiety, like will this ever work? Like just try it And if it doesn't, that's okay too. Like if it doesn't work, that's okay too. We had so many things that fell apart and never came to fruition.
Right. You got to take that first step.
Yeah, take that first step and then just like step into community. Don't do it on your own. But really like find a few people to talk to about it, see what their experiences are, kind of do that market research portion of it is, do you feel like you need for this? Asking a question, being inquisitive, being curious, always digging in and learning and being humble in that journey, I think is the one thing I think every entrepreneur needs to have that start.
Right. Asking questions.
That hunger. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe to summarize that, it's like, find the smallest thing you can do to try your idea. And then secondly, just like start talking to people about it, because you never know who's going to have a connection, who's going to like give you some perspective on that idea and help refine it, that kind of thing. Similar to that, but like maybe a little bit more specific. A bit of advice that I was given early on, which has proven to be invaluable, is like identify a couple other people in your community, if you have them, who really do have like that entrepreneurial spirit. When you meet those people, you know who they are. Right. Because they're different than everybody.
You got to find that like-minded community, not just the community of the category that you're going into.
Yeah.
But the community,
Right. And it's people who will not just be like, your big fans, but people will actually like be honest with you. Because honesty, as we've come to learn, is like one of the most valuable things other people can give us for our
That's right.
So people who can give you their like honest perspective and leverage their experience, an entrepreneurial mindset, to just like have kind of on your roster of people that you can talk to,
right?
And kind of have that conversation with them, like, hey, I'm thinking about starting this hard thing. You're someone as I've always admired based on your experience, your entrepreneurial spirit. I'd love to. Do you mind if I just like call you every once in a while when I, face a decision I don't know how to make, or I'm thinking about something and I don't know what to think about it, or I've been faced with, I've been approached with an opportunity I don't know how to evaluate.
Right.
Those kinds of things. It's been so helpful for us. Unbelievably helpful.
That's right. And when I started the company, not Orange Whip, but the first company, Brightco, I still go back to those like 3 or 4 folks that gave me some of the best advice, and their advice has come true across my journey. It's like, oh my God, how did you know that? Like you magic ball. And now I can look back to go, I could make those same recommendations now going through the journey. But it's not, it's having that community of people. Yeah. Well, we are out of time. I know we've gone way over. I hope that you're okay with that. It was been amazing. These always go by so fast. I love every one of these conversations. Love. Before we go out, where can people find information about you, Scouts, whatever? How do you want people to connect with you?
Yeah, so our most popular connection point is through Instagram at Scouts Doughnuts. Donuts spelled DOUGHNUTS. I have to close my eyes sometimes when I say it. Also, scoutsdoughnuts.com is where you can see like all of our flavors and all of that. Our website. Our storefront is at 1700 East North Street, which if you're in Greenville, it's right across from Claire's Creamery and Shaw's Pharmacy and that whole block right there. And on the same block as Harry's Hokies.
Best sandwiches in town. Say that out loud.
They're amazing. Beef donut.
You can say that.
It swaps a lot. But we are expanding, like I said earlier, with Harry's and us. So we'll be like 80% of this block very soon, which is going to be great. Yeah. So we're here to stay. And
who knows, in 5 years, it might be Scouts Doughnuts in your market.
Maybe more locations to come. You'll be one of the first people to know.
That's right.
I love it. Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Love hanging out with you. For everyone listening or watching us live, thank you for joining us. This podcast episode will be published this coming Sunday and available on all podcast platforms. So subscribe to Hello Chaos, like, comment, and share this great content. Help us grow and build a more connected entrepreneurial community. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities. We are 100% free. Just an email to join the community. One-stop content hub just for founders, and then delivered in a weekly email every Sunday. We are currently in 3 areas in South Carolina, the upstate Midlands and Low Country, with goals to expand to be in 30 markets in 5 years. Check out the new edition that just dropped, a week ago. We are highlighting minority business enterprises and women business enterprises in our 3 markets. Some great stories, stunning photography. Go subscribe and support us. Again, it's free. Find your city edition and enjoy. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or support us, head over to orangewhip.com or send an email to hello@orangewhip, and that's orangewip.com. And let's again give another huge shout out to our podcast sponsor, Worksby. Worksby is the gold standard in virtual administrative solutions. Their energetic leadership team is committed to solutions that are agile, collaborative, and accessible, so you can find the answers you've been seeking. They matchmake you with the perfect executive administrative assistant or administrative professional to meet your needs, your personality, and take all the tasks that you hate off your plate and do the things that you love. They will make you more productive as your day goes on. So all the founders and executive teams out there listening, they help you stay productive. Learn more at worksby.com. Y'all, thank you for tuning in to Hello Chaos. Again, it's where aha meets oh shit. I am your host, Jennifer Sutton, aka JJ, and we will see you again next week.